August 20th, 2025, end the Fed and abolish the IRS. Can you believe this is the narrative coming from President Donald J. Trump and Dan Scavino? I'll tell you what, Ron Paul and G. Edward Griffin, they're doing cartwheels in their living room right now. Hello, I'm John Michael Chambers. We are live and welcome to the Global Financial Reset premiere episode, Surviving and Thriving, The Transition. This is being streamed live on our backup Rumble channel, Facebook, and X. Sean Morgan will be stopping by a little bit later to say hello, and joining me as well later to discuss the deep state's involvement and much more in the crypto world is retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox. All right, so now in today's broadcast, we will discuss the parallel economies at play. We'll discuss crypto and introduce the Wealth Coach University's 10 free educational modules to help get you on your way in a sort of a workshop, hands-on approach. Now, I have an important data and announcements and good takeaway information for you in a proactive sense at the conclusion of today's broadcast. It is morning here in Thailand and it's evening in the States. Thanks for joining me. We will then be discussing how the stage is being set with the National Guard and the U.S. military now on the streets of America. The stage is being set for a roundup of sorts, in my opinion, the big arrests and the deployment of the emergency broadcast system. We will discuss how to not only survive, but thrive potentially through this transition of the global financial reset. So saving America is not a spectator sport, neither is protecting and preserving your hard-earned assets. This requires knowledge and action. But first, allow me, please, to set the stage by taking a stroll through history, as it's important to note how we got into this mess. And I know our audience, and I know the folks following us are we're not going to play that yet, thank you for that image, are very, I know our audience is very up to date on what's happened in history, but a lot of folks aren't. So I'm going to spend the time on that. But before I forget, I will mention at the close of today's broadcast just how it is that you can reach out and speak with me personally and to gain access to my valuable resource network. Now, before I proceed, take note, sign up for free at John Michael Chambers, jmcbroadcasting.com, and bookmark wealthcoachuniversity.com. These will be sites you'll want to spend some time on later. And be sure to view all of the free video PowerPoint modules to help you to not only survive, but thrive the danger zone, the transition from the New World Order globalist system to the new system that is being set in motion. This is going to be, again, sort of a hands-on, boots on the ground type of broadcast right now. All right, so the world is waking up to the fact that there is nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. And of course, there is no reserve. The Federal Reserve is no more a government agency than Federal Express. The Federal Reserve is a corporation founded and run by international bankers. Bankers often fund both sides of many wars. This is now coming to an end. Thanks to Q, the military, President Donald Trump, and the White Hats, and praise God for that. Endless wars. Unbelievable. This is the dawning. That's proof of the dawning of the golden age, the ending of wars. All right, the Federal Reserve Act, stroll through history, was signed and enacted into law by President Woodrow Wilson in 1913. This, of course, was a violation of the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, where it states that only Congress shall have the power to issue and control the value of our currency in weights and measures. Weights and measures? Sure, because the banks could only print out currency, put currency into the circulation, the amount of currency, only to the extent that it was backed in weights and measures by gold and silver, thus weights and measures. Now, serving congressman at the time, Charles A. Lindbergh, Sr., at the time said this, and it's a quote, "This Federal Reserve Act establishes the most gigantic trust on earth. When the president, Woodrow Wilson, signs this bill, the invisible government of the monetary power will be legalized. The worst legislative crime of the ages is perpetrated by this banking and currency bill. He went on to say that all recessions and depressions will be scientifically engineered. He was right on all counts. Let's fast forward now to this. The IRS, JFK. On February 3rd, 1913, the 16th Amendment established Congress's right to impose a federal income tax. This too was unconstitutional. Fast forward to June 4th, 1963, we see President John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110, which was a move to restore silver certificates to further back the U.S. dollar, reducing the power and control from the Federal Reserve back to Congress, we the people. This was perhaps but one of the contributing factors, one of them, that led to the assassination, in my opinion, of John F. Kennedy on that fateful day in Dallas, Texas. Let's fast forward to Richard Nixon. In August of 1971, with what is known as the Nixon shock, President Richard Nixon removed gold as the backing to the U.S. dollar while opening trade with Communist China, I might add. Nixon then decoupled or delinked the U.S. dollar from gold. Well, what's the result? Well, we've been on an affluent, parabolic, inflationary trajectory ever since, which basically equates to devaluing the U.S. dollar and thus yours and mine standard of living. Between skyrocketing inflation and then taxation, never mind Wall Street's manipulation at a cost to you, it's no wonder two working spouses are saddled with debt and can barely make ends meet, all by design, I might add. This soon, in the golden age, is coming to an end. Follow President Trump and Dan Scavino on that. Prior to 1913, every dollar that was in the banking system was matched equally in value to the gold. In other words, the gold in the vaults equaled the amount in value issued in US dollar paper currency. This made it easy to purchase goods and services. You could go to the bank and exchange a 1 ounce coin for a $20 bill at the time, the paper note. They were of equal value. Let's talk about inflation, the hidden tax. A 1 ounce gold, this is a simple story, you've heard it before, but I'm going to put it on the record now. A 1 ounce gold coin back in 100 some odd years ago was worth $20, which was equal to and the same value as the $20 bill. A man back then could purchase a custom-made suit, leather, belt, and shoes for $20. Fast forward to today. Today, a $20 bill couldn't even purchase a decent tie, let alone a custom-made suit, leather, belt, and shoes. You might get shoelaces for $20 that were made in China to boot. So yet today, but today, if you look at today, a man could sell his 1 ounce gold coin, which at the time of this recording, the time of this live broadcast, is valued at about $3,400 an ounce. While that devalued $20 paper bill couldn't even purchase a decent tie, that 1 ounce gold coin today could certainly buy a custom-made suit, leather belt, shoes, and possibly leave a few $100 in its pant pocket. That's the simplest way to explain it. Inflation is the hidden tax. This money as debt is in fact backed by nothing other than fiat, government decree, versus tangible gold and silver, which keeps inflation in check. Gold and silver, God's money. God's money. I believe gold will once again soon play a major role in stabilizing our currency. That's the Constitution says. Watch gold and watch silver. Buy gold and buy silver. Buy now, but buyer beware, and more on that later in the sort of a workshop style I'll get into. So inflation, it could be said in its purest definition, in part, is an increase in the money supply and not chasing enough actual production of goods and services. What has this resulted in since 1913, since the Federal Reserve Act? Debt, inflation, and the struggling American taxpayer and a bankrupt country with over $37 trillion of federal debt, which I believe is being wiped away, and we'll cover that later. All right, so gold, again, is God's money. Let me put this inflationary situation into perspective and how it relates to gold. Gold is real wealth. There is a reason we hear the expression over many years. You hear people say, you know what? And that's as good as gold. That's right. There's a reason for that expression because of the confidence in gold. So take a look at the US dollar bill or $100 bill or whatever you may have in your wallet. It says Federal Reserve note. Well, what do these words mean? Federal Reserve equals bank, note equals debt. So you're carrying around a debt to a bank, a debt to the Federal Reserve Bank. So where's the actual money? You can learn more again by visiting wealthcoachuniversity.com. Scroll to the bottom and click on the library of documentaries and books. It's all there for you. Now, the Federal Reserve banks are not part of the federal government, but they exist because of an act of Congress. They can also be removed by an act of Congress. Their purpose is to serve the public. How well has this served the public? To the point of bankruptcy, that's how. So is the Fed private or public? The answer is both. While the Board of Governors is an independent agency, not voted into power by we the people, with an appointed chairman, the Federal Reserve banks are set up like private corporations. Let's move over to Elon Musk. Doge uncovers corruption and theft. With Elon Musk heading up Doge, we have learned not only has the Federal Reserve inflated our currency into oblivion and reduced our purchasing power, but the hard-earned wages and or profits that we are taxed on, where's that money gone? Doge has exposed the misuse, theft, and corruption of these tax dollars, and ironically, most all of the taxed funds have been deployed for the benefit of others and to the detriment of the taxpayer, you and me, and to the detriment of our families. We are debt slaves, having provided funding for the Wuhan labs over in China, lining the pockets of corrupt politicians, NGOs, wars, and foreign nations who hate us. In essence, we are funding, and have been, our own demise. We got lots of good news here because this is coming to an end. So the transition. President Trump has pledged that he will return the power back to the people. He will give us back our country. It is evident to me with the recent changes and public statements made by President Trump that we, in my opinion, are witnessing the dismantling of the Federal Reserve and the IRS, as well as moving away from the central banking system and reestablishing a new, in part, perhaps gold-backed currency, ultimately moving us into a quantum physical, a QFS. So more on that later with our guests. Now, there is Doge with hundreds of billions of dollars now being saved, and over time, far more. The deployment of tariffs as a tool, foreign capital invested back into the U.S. in the trillions, the formation of the External Revenue Service, along with the restoration of manufacturing and exploration of both oil and gas here at home. Thank you, President Trump. We are well on our way. Now, I pulled some of this content I'm going to read to you in a moment here. I pulled off a social media post. I want to credit a fellow digital soldier, Adrian Reed, who published in his war report dated March 31st, 2025, the following, which I will read in part by The Guardian, Daniel R. The reset begins. The global reset you've awaited for is now unfolding. This isn't a drill. The global financial collapse is happening right before our eyes. Executive orders like 13818 and 13848 that Derek Johnson has so expertly connected the dots for us on are wiping the smirks off the faces of these so-called gods of finance. They've manipulated markets and human rights without consequence until now. Sanctions are crippling them, making the end of financial empires. Witness the meeting the president just had the other day with the European leaders. So the fall of the cabal is actually here. Bank collapses, it's not bad management, it's calculated destruction. From Silicon Valley Bank to Credit Suisse, these financial giants are crumbling. This isn't random, it's justice. Trillions gone. The vast fortunes of these institutions are vanishing. Again, Executive Order 13818 targets human rights abuses, while 13848 clamps down on foreign election interference. Together, they're dismantling the financial underpinnings of the global elite. Now, the global reset. This isn't just a financial reset, it's a complete overhaul of power dynamics all across this world. The elites are losing, and transparency, fairness, and justice are on the rise. Just what we voted for. What's next? As we witness the greatest financial reset in history, prepare for a new era of free from the shadow, a new era that we are free from the shadow of the cabal. The future is bright, and it belongs to us, not the corrupt elite. So, in summary, we are mid transitioning. We have not arrived. What's occurring during this transition? What is happening behind the scenes? Again, new tax policies, ending the Fed and the IRS as we know it, new banking system. How about the dollar itself, the currency itself? Seems to me we may be returning to a gold-backed currency for a period of time, with perhaps backed by other commodities, ultimately en route to a digital currency of sorts encrypted in the QFS. Follow again President Trump and Dan Scavino's posts. So I consider this stage, because we're not there yet, it's transitioning, and it will go on for a while in various stages, in my humble opinion. I call this the danger zone. Meanwhile, do you think the deep state global cabal, the globalists, the Fed and the IMF, Bank of International Settlements, the international banks are just going to let this happen without a fight? Of course not. You think they will easily give up control of the trillions, if not quadrillions of dollars that they have under their control, just slip away without a battle? Danger lurks. Resistance will be fierce. This is the danger zone. This is the transition. This is the final battle for the ultimate state of control. And how long will this danger zone persist? God only knows. My best guess is over a period of a couple of years. Some things quicker, some things have already happened, and other things are yet to come. So I'm moving through this sort of a educational monologue, and we'll get into the crux of this broadcast. And thanks for being here with me. While I do not have a crystal ball, it seems to me that this may take some time and will not transition smoothly as we have been witnessing in this global defense war, in this currency control and currency supremacy war. Many have been reaching out to me personally with all kinds of questions as to what to do to protect and preserve their cash, investments, and retirement assets, how to keep pace with inflation, how to derive income, and how to live in abundance as God intended versus a world of scarcity. Thus, I have launched the Wealth Coach University, the dawning of the golden age. I want to thank God for President Trump and this new administration. I want to thank God for Q and the military white hats. There is hope. We are transitioning now from dark to light in this battle between good and evil from many years of being lied to, trapped and controlled in a perfectly designed matrix, taking our space, making it smaller, living in fear and scarcity rather than creativity and abundance, killing the American dream, as the American dream has unfortunately become the American nightmare. We've been caught in a web of lies which had little or no, we had no clue was happening, many of us. This is now changing. We know. We now know. You know, and I know. And once you've been down the rabbit holes, you cannot go back. This controlled hidden matrix is now coming to an end. Decree it, claim it, own it, and keep your eyes on President Donald J. Trump as the dawning of the golden age is indeed upon us. Follow my daily wartime reporting with military and intelligence experts. That's by and large what we do at jmcbroadcasting.com. Military and intelligence experts. Why? Lean and mean. Why? We're at war. We're taking back our country in the final throes of this battle. There is relief. There will be some forms of reparations back from what has been stolen from us. It may be bigger than we think. You can learn more about this, and please go do this later, by viewing a 20-minute cut that we put up of 107, which delved into this very specific subject at wealthcoachuniversity.com. You will find it on the homepage of the website. You will see 107. It is my opinion we shall see this over time in various ways and stages and various amounts, money coming back to us, in addition to new tax and other related systems and policies. With the transformation and likely removal, in my opinion, of the Federal Reserve and the IRS, and the ultimate securing of a sound currency, As I mentioned moments ago, the power is indeed being restored back to we the people. It is my belief we are looking at years of peace and prosperity and opportunities like we have never seen before in terms of creating wealth and prospering and having opportunities into this golden age, MAGA and MAHA. Make America great again, make America healthy again. So the Federal Reserve and income tax was enacted by an act of Congress and once again can be repealed by an act of Congress or military decree under martial law, I might add. And this is why Elon Musk was floating the idea, along with former Congressman and presidential candidate Ron Paul, to audit the Fed and Fort Knox, which of course, in my opinion, would lead to the abolishing of the Fed and the income tax code alone, what we discover there. So, but again, we are not out of the woods just yet. And while only God knows, and perhaps President Trump and select others, this may take some time, perhaps a couple of short years until the new system, in my opinion, is fully and entirely established and in place. And it may be sooner than that because it's complicated. And of course, we are fighting multiple battles on multiple fronts in this global defense war to take back our country and once and for all crush the deep state global cabal and the enemies of freedom. This is where we find ourselves. It's unprecedented. And it is my opinion that some of the final preparations are now in motion. The stage is being set before our very eyes in a multi-pronged public awareness approach as we have the enemy at check on the chessboard in this battlefield. Just last week, I'm going to throw a few things out of recent events, and we're going to change the tone and the direction of this live broadcast. But this is important. Just last week, the FCC announced a testing of sorts taking place for the EBS. Again, the stage is now being set. The stage is being set, in my opinion, for a roundup of sorts, the big arrests that we're waiting for, and the deployment of the EBS, with the National Guard and United States military now on the streets of America. Let me throw a few things out the wall here before we move on of what just transpired in the past week or two, of what I see happening, and you can connect the dots on this, that the stage is being set. Let me run through this quickly. National Guard federalized. DC federalized. I hope you saw President Trump's presser on that. The DC model he spoke about will be sweeping now across the country. President Donald J. Trump meeting with Putin recently and the European leaders together with Putin against the global cabal's New World Order for peace and prosperity. Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, has proof, she's announced, linking Mike Pence to treasonous conspiracy, this from the DNI, to undermine the 2016 presidency. Adam Schiff also, treasonous acts now made official and public. I'm connecting the dots on the stage being set for the big arrest in the EBS with the military on the streets. The list of wars and conflicts that President Trump has prevented keeps on growing. Give the man the Nobel Prize. DNI, Tulsi Gabbard has been speaking about mockingbird media. Now, you and I have been talking about that forever. The CIA's plan that they put in place decades ago to control the media, all the talking points, the 4 a.m. talking points. But what is new is that it's coming from official positions in the government. Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, has invoked mockingbird media and is going to take care of that. The FBI arrested a Boston sheriff for refusing to work with ICE on deportations. The Democrats are getting arrested. Texas lawmakers revealed, this was on the homepage of foxnews.com last week, picture of Barack Obama, Barry Soetoro. Texas lawmakers reveals that Barack Obama sent a private message to fugitive Democrats. And of course, we have Brennan and perhaps others fleeing. I think he's gone to Austria. There's nowhere to run. And then there's plenty of activity and confusions among the public on the economic front with the BRICS, etc., move to take down the US dollar in the never-ending currency supremacy war. Federal income tax has been removed from the usadebtclock.org. Dan Scavino posts, abolish the IRS. President Trump has told us tariffs are so successful, we don't even need income tax. The IRS commissioner has been fired and replaced by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Jerome Powell was paraded around, embarrassingly, I might add, spending $3 billion on buildings when President Trump said all he should have done was spent $50 million on some renovations, and is now considering suing Jerome Powell. And that's a tip of the iceberg for what's coming to Jerome Powell and many others. There's talk of return of stolen wealth. Again, I mentioned coming back to the people. This lines up with Nassar Agassar, some elements of that. So, and the Fed and the IRS, again, G. Edward Griffin and Ron Paul, and I've had the privilege and honor and opportunity to work with both of these gentlemen separately years ago. They're doing cartwheels in their living room, and so the stage is being set. I'd like my producer to run this video. Before we run it, and after the video, we're going to bring on our esteemed guest, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, who's part of our Global Defense War panel, who knows a thing or two about the money world. We're going to bring our guest and Sean Morgan on in a little bit, and we'll change the direction and tone as I wrap this elongated monologue and run through history. But I caution you, we're going to run this video by a gentleman named Neil Fox, who I met many years ago when I had launched the Save America Foundation, a not-for-profit in Florida. We held large-scale conventions. G. Edward Griffin was one of our speakers, Sheriff Richard Mack, many other people. And we brought Neil in, and we ran this video because we, for years, have been supporting Ron Paul on ending the Fed for obvious reasons. That glorious day is coming. You can thank President Trump for that and many others. So I just want to say there's strong language. The F word is coming your way. If you don't like it, come back in 4 minutes. All right, so here we go. I run this video because it's very, very well done. Mr. Neil Fox out of Florida. And I'll cut in and comment. You'll enjoy this. Thank you, Neil.
Something evil came a creeping. Now it's hard to know exactly who to trust. It was 1913 on a Christmas day. Congress gave away its right to create cash. Now your money's only worth just what the bankers say, and you can lose your only shirt in just a flash. You see, the Federal Reserve is not a government thing. It's a bunch of private bankers we obey. And they don't answer to the people cause they pull the strings. And that's precisely why we have to say, hey, 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 fuck the Fed. Now, not too long ago, there was a president who tried. He was about to stick it to the lousy Fed.
To my producer, thank you very much. I've got to cut in here and there for compliance purposes with the social media giants. Here's Executive Order 11110 that I spoke about in the monologue, and Neil Fox is bringing this to our attention, as well as a couple of other very critical things. Stay with this video. Please continue.
He made some legal tender, silver-backed in all its splendor. It's unfortunate he ended up dead. Clinton, Bush, Barack Obama, Carter, Reagan, and McCain. We argue who's the best until we drop. But whoever is elected, it all comes out the same till we see that it's the Fed we need to stop. Hey, 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 hey. Fuck the Fed. Hey, 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 hey. Fuck the Fed. We need a president with balls, no matter white or black or female. Someone more than just another talking head. They have to stand up for our rights. They better read the Constitution when they hear the people cry, fuck the Fed. So tell your children's children, if we're still around, to tell how depression's created by a few.
You see that depression that JFK Sr. knew all about, and as the history has told us, avoided his funds getting crushed while all of ours did, and then they made profits off it. You see these people, our ancestors, lining up for a cup of soup. That's the Federal Reserve. Continue the video. I don't think I need to interrupt it any further.
How the people lived and suffered while the candidates debated till the people knew exactly what to do. Yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Fuck the Fed. Hey, 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 hey. Fuck the Fed. Fuck the Fed. Hey, 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 hey. 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 Fuck the Fed. Fuck the Fed.
All right. Thank you, Neil Fox out of Florida. You can look him up. Very creative video, strong language. I get it. But you know what? Let's learn from history or we'll be destined to repeat it. That video tells you the results of the Federal Reserve and other corruption back then. So let's move on now. So there were two parallel economies at play. The one we are in, which of course has been controlled by the deep state, the Federal Reserve's fiat system, controlled by the Fed. Then there's the IRS, the BIS, and the central bank system with money only as debt. With inflation creation controlled, booms and busts, and with taxes and inflation hard at work, leaving again the people in a position to never get ahead. That's not the American dream. That's an American nightmare. The evil entities want us living in a controlled matrix, frozen with fear, in a world of scarcity, again, rather than in a world of creativity and abundance. And this will soon be changing as we transition ultimately into a stable coin of sorts in an encrypted QFS. And if anyone tells you they know exactly how it's going to happen and exactly when, run the other way. We have ideas, and we're going to jump into those ideas in a moment. This is not to be confused, this stable currency of sorts in a QFS, this new money system. It shouldn't be confused with the central bank digital currency, of which President Trump has spoken out against. Now, on that note, let's welcome my guest here on the Global Financial Reset Premier Show, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox. Tom's extensive service in military operations to this country can be found in the show notes below on the Rumble backup channel. Welcome, sir, to the Global Financial Reset. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
You know, Lieutenant Tom, Lieutenant Colonel Tom, in addition to your extensive military background and service to this country, please tell us a bit about your background as it relates to all things economic. Then we'll discuss crypto, but lay the groundwork for our audience, please, if you will, sir.
Okay. Well, I have an undergraduate degree in accounting, a master's degree in military finance and comptrollership from Syracuse University, and a Bachelor of Science degree in general business. With all of that, on a part-time basis for well over 20 years, I taught finance, accounting, strategy and policy, and a little bit of IT. On active duty in the military, I was a budget officer, I was a logistician, I was a comptroller. I did all kinds of interesting stuff. When I was taking my courses in finance at Syracuse, I took a course from the guy who developed the defense budgeting system in 1954, the one that McNamara put in place when he was the Secretary of Defense under Kennedy. I have seen it all work. In my teaching, I learned a lot about commercial finance and how it works. I ran across a number of companies and a number of organizations that I would call criminal. I was briefed about crypto by a DOJ office, a female DOJ retired who was responsible for finding out how to break into the crypto that was run by the cabal or the deep state or whatever in order to process and fund their drug transactions. All very interesting stuff. This happened, I want to say 30 years ago or so, that they were running, and they were really running a blockchain type system because they had multiple ledgers that fed into a single ledger that allowed them to track what their people were doing when they were selling the drugs and what the money they were getting was. And the Japanese got involved a little bit, and the only way they caught them was they caught one of the guys with one of his computers, and they were able to hack his computer and get all the way up to the top. That's when I learned about crypto, we'll say. I have been over the last number of years retired, and in that time I've done a lot of research on things. I've studied QFS, quantum financial system, which is not just a financial system. I have followed a number of people in various places on the internet. I do not keep my own internet site. I had thought about doing that on Gab, and then I decided not to, so it's up there as a blank site. I've written a lot of papers that resulted in execution in the Department of Defense, and I guess that's a good summary.
Well, thank you
Anything
very
else,
much.
John?
No, thank you very much. You've informed our audience a snippet of your extensive background, and I appreciate it. And of course, your service to this country, which we all are grateful for.
Yeah.
So crypto in general, you and I chatted in the Global Defense War panel last month, and sure hope you can return this month and join us again. Thank you. Yeah, the issue of crypto, 30 years. Wow, that's new news to me. I spoke with Juan O'Savin. A lot of our audience knows Juan. Those that don't
Yeah.
follow my shows, you'll
Heard
start
him
to
a number of
understand.
times.
But yeah, Juan explained, and he's been serving this nation in various capacities since Ronald Reagan days as well. And a while back, it got to be at least a year, maybe longer than that, I asked Juan on air and off air this thing of crypto. It's an area that I'm learning about like everybody else is. And he said it was initially set up by the Black Hats. And of course, Hillary was supposed to win. They didn't expect what happened. And she would have they would have corralled all of our money into this crypto, and then they would have bankrupted us out. Would you concur with that and care to comment on that trajectory for a moment?
I would say that that's exactly what they were planning, because they had, not only did they have the crypto piece, but they also had what we call the blockchain piece, because the blockchain is multiple ledgers that feed a single ledger that tracks all the other ledgers for the movement of money. And they had both, because the only way they could run their crypto operation was with a blockchain type system. And yes, they could have done that very easily, taken out everything we have. because the bankers were all
So,
on their side.
mhm.
And the key is the
What,
bankers.
you know, I'm sorry. Yes, continue. I didn't want to cut you.
Uh, when we think about the Federal Reserve and the IRS, uh, I I go back to a friend of mine who called me one day and he said, "Tom, why does it say on the back of my birth certificate, property of the Vatican?"
What a question. Yeah, that's the right
Yeah,
question to
that was a
ask.
question, and I had the answer for him. And I said, "It's real simple. The Vatican owns the IRS. The Vatican bought you when you were born, when your parents signed you over to the Vatican." And he said, "Oh,
Yep.
okay." So when he has questions, he calls me.
I'm sure he does. Well,
Yeah.
you maybe to some of our very awakened MAGA folks listening to this broadcast, they're clapping. They understood that, but a lot of people and the overwhelming majority of Americans have no clue.
They have no
There you
idea.
have it. You heard it straight from Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox has given it to you. There you have it. So we are debt slaves, right? I mean, it's a
Exactly.
harsh term, but right? I mean, that's what we've been living. That's
Yeah.
why it's hard to get ahead. Taxes, inflation. We gave the control away to private bankers in 1913. Now let's fast forward to today. What's your analysis of what the president and team is doing right now? Because it's clear to me that we are mid a transition of sorts, and it's really big because money and information and natural resources is how you control everybody. The money is a big story. Follow the money. What do you see happening
Well, first
presently
of
and
all,
moving forward?
he's signed QFS, and that was done several weeks ago. He implemented QFS. The IRS, he keeps announcing different phases of the termination of the IRS. The IRS does not legally exist. The 16th Amendment was never ratified by Congress. I have a letter from the commissioner of the IRS written in 1985 that says that if people come to you and want all their taxes back, you have to give it to them because we've been operating illegally because of an Indiana court case that occurred in March of 1985. So when we look at that, what Trump is doing, he's trying to ease the information. You can't tell people everything you're going to do all at once. You have to ease them into it. And the reason is because change takes a long time. We have probably 30% of the people that somewhat understand what's going on, 10% who have a real good idea, and then you got 70% that have no idea. All they know is they like Trump, but they don't understand why. And so when we look at the Federal Reserve, he's already eliminated the Federal Reserve, but he hasn't told us that. My understanding is that in 2019 or 2020, he actually turned it over to the Treasury Department. And it's been under the Treasury Department since then. If you notice on your dollar bills, there's not been a single dollar bill printed since 2017. Not a single one. I got a $50 bill from the old series yesterday when I went to the bank because they're down to the
It's great information.
all the stuff that would have been torn apart. Trump's already taken care of that. It's just a process because we've got to have the people understand when their bank account goes zero that QFS already has it all, that every bit of the money that you or I or any other American citizen has is in QFS. If you're a foreign citizen and you're here in the US, your account is in QFS in Brazil, Guatemala, El Salvador, Iraq, Iran, wherever you're from. And your reparations will come there, not here. It's very interesting. Uh,
Fascinating.
and as I look at all of this, I say, okay, he's doing what he said he would do. Tulsi Gabbard posted something the other day that said on January 1, 2026, all the money, all the debt would go away. Now, she's not supposed to say dates. That gives Trump 6 months or 5 months now, 4 months now, to decide when to really do it.
Wow. Yes.
And he is going to do it.
Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, it's an honor to have you here for what you've done for this country and what you're continuing to do for this country. This is very important information, folks. You've heard it here, perhaps for the first time, many of us. So the Federal Reserve, for all intents and purposes, is done. This is the parallel economies that I mentioned in the monologue, right? We're still operating in what we do with our debt money in the banks, but yet this thing is gearing up, right? And we're going to slide in at some point.
It's going to take some time, but the Treasury is already in Reno, Nevada. It's not in D.C. Hasn't been in D.C. for several years. Reno, Nevada, because that's where they were doing all the gold negotiations for the gold transfers and the gold movement to create essentially a worldwide BRICS, GESARA. And it's all under QFS. It's not anything that's been developed by the military, by the government as a system is not going to be in QFS. I experienced QFS in action when I was doing a money transfer to Europe. And my banker said to me, well, it's going to take 4 days. Before I got home, 5 minutes later, the guy on the other end said, hey, I got the money already. That tells you what the speed of transaction has changed.
Capability.
That says it was not being done on the SWIFT system. And so we're going to see some of these things. People aren't going to really understand when their bank account goes blank. And it will go blank at some point. Because when the QFS gets fully implemented, all your money is up above. It's in the cloud. It's in Starlink. You hear about Ripple. Ripple was developed by IBM. It's not going to be used by the QFS. Nothing that's been developed by the companies in the military is going to be used in QFS. All the blockchain companies that the U.S. uses, and people keep saying, well, they're going to use military blockchain. No, they're not. They're probably not even using blockchain. They're using some other advanced, intelligent ledger system. What it is, we don't know. Nobody really knows. But it is going to happen. And
let me ask you, sir, if I can. You just mentioned something that I know a lot of folks are going, oh my goodness, when you said, your bank accounts will go to zero, but the money is in this new QFS. My question is, people are probably wondering, what do I do? What's an action step? Is there something they should be doing today in preparation for?
What they should be doing today in preparation is having probably $1,000 to $3,000 in cash, a tank full of gas, and food for the EBS, probably 10 to 12 days. After that, they will get a phone call or an email or a text that will invite them to go in and redeem whatever cash they have left. And they will get a phone and a computer that will be linked to their account. And nobody else can have access to that account except them. That's the key thing people don't understand, because when you do what they're talking about doing, you got to get the bad guys out of the way. And all those executive orders that Derek talks about are designed to get the bad guys out of the way, to take their money, and the QFS won't let them get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll have a non-disclosure agreement. You'll have, this is your money, this is your account, this is your phone that links to your account, this is your computer that links to your account. 8 billion computers and phones were completed 3 years ago.
Wow.
And rumor has it, we say that, what's his name, who founded Apple? Steve
Jobs. I think it's Steve Jobs.
Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Steve Jobs. They say that Steve Jobs did not die. That Steve Jobs wrote the system for the computers and the phones that are going to be used in QFS. That's a rumor, because there's a lot of people, Elvis Presley is alive. His name is Bob Joyce, and he's a pastor in Arkansas. And he admitted the other day that he is Elvis. And all you have to do is hear him sing, and you know it's Elvis.
He did. Wow. My good, yeah, absolutely. The voice. Look, I'm familiar with Bob Joyce. My good friend Gene Ho
Yeah.
and Scott McKay frequent the church, especially
Right.
Gene. I way back then when it was introduced to me, I just shut my eyes and listened to the man sing, and
Yeah.
you would think Elvis Presley's in the room. So, but you just said Bob Joyce acknowledge that he's Elvis. Now, Scott McKay, I don't mind telling this to the audience. I'm sure Scott has published this. He says, John, it's Elvis. And of course, Gene keeps his things a little close to the vest with George Magazine there. But Gene knows. So tell me about that, Lieutenant Lennox.
My brother follows a lot of things, and he sent me a note, and he said, somebody told me that Bob Joyce finally admitted he was Elvis. Now, I've heard hints from him where he said, I used to have one of those white jackets. What does that tell you? If he had one of those white jackets, how many people had a white leather jacket? Not a whole lot.
A lot of anomalies concerning Bob Joyce. There's going to the funeral of the daughter and giving birthday gifts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I want to keep. We're going to bring us back into the economy world here, because that stuff's fascinating. But what got us there was the fact that maybe Steve Jobs is still around. Listen to our audience. Don't cut out right now, because I'll tell you what. Nothing is as it seems. You know that. I mean, you looked at that guy they paraded around for 4 years called Joe Biden. Come on. Okay. So what the Lieutenant Colonel is reporting here isn't out there in left field. It's front and center if you really start looking and listening. But what else can you I want to ask you this important question. You spoke about directly and indirectly the theft of the system, the Vatican birth certificate, the control, the capital letters, the whole situation, that we're debt slaves, and that money will be being returned back to us. Can you go visit that statement again and elaborate on how much, when, what's in your crystal ball based on the circles that you visit in terms of money coming back to the people? Because I know everyone wants some of that.
All right. So there are 2 trusts, and I never can remember the names. One located in the Philippines, one located here and in London and in Vatican. Those trusts are where your birth certificate was put into the stock market. When you were born, you have been traded on the stock market every day since you were born. Now, the estimate is that for somebody my age, I'm 80 years old, that it could be that I'm worth $1 billion on that stage. The latest thing I saw was
Hmm.
broken
We're
down
back.
by age groups, and 60 plus age group, it was somewhere $61 million plus.
Wow.
And I can't remember the other ones because the one that interests me is my age. But that's the reparation.
Yes. Well,
The re-
but I have a question. Let me pause just, and usually I don't interrupt, but we're going to get buried here. I will. The notion, I'm not challenging what you're saying at all, sir. It's music to my ears, but it raises an important question. If that amount of money comes back to everybody, that would just create hyperinflation with that number of
no,
currency in existence out of nowhere, and the misuse of it from people that have never had money, that make mistakes. What are the? Tell me how that plays out.
well, it plays out this way. If somebody is in their 20s, they're going to get a block of money that belongs to them. But in order to not disrupt the economy too greatly, they're only going to
Yes.
get an amount of that every year until they turn 60. And what they will have to do is work during their lifetimes, but they'll be able to work at something they love, not at some drudgery job they took just because they needed the income.
Hmm.
So the idea appears to be that as people get older, they have to work less, but they still have to work at some level. Um,
Hmm.
I've talked to my wife and I want to build a farm. I'm 80 years old. I want to build a farm and educate kids on how to farm. That's what I would do if I had that money. Anyway,
Repeat that, sir,
so,
because we had an internet interruption. Repeat the last 40 seconds, if you will, please.
okay. If I were to get that amount of money, I want to build a farm, probably 1,500 acres, with horses, cows, cattle, pigs, and I want to train at least 40 children every year until they graduate from high school. And my idea is that it's those kids that have been traumatized, what's the word?
Traumatized.
Traumatized while they were in the possession of the deep state.
Ah, I
And
got you.
I will
Wow,
hire a
fantastic.
staff.
Yeah.
That's my thing. That
Yes,
that
beautiful.
came to me one night while I was sleeping. I've written a one pager and I've got actually done some of the financial analysis on it. So anyway,
Wow.
but that's
So,
going to be the
thank you very
ability
much.
people have.
Hmm.
Okay. More
So,
questions?
in a summary, in a big summary here, to encapsulate some of the key walkaways from our discussion for our viewers, and correct me if I've misstate anything here. What we have here, folks, in various degrees, is the ending of the Federal Reserve. We have the ending of the IRS. We have, uh, I don't want to say dupe them, but we beat them at their own game, and there's no way out for them, as the parallel system
Exactly.
will rescue us. They're caught flat foot. That means this 37 trillion federal, here comes the question. The 37 trillion of the federal debt that I've been told has been wiped off the USA debt clock, um, that debt should not be ours then. I mean, that's all
No,
fraudulent. Am I right or wrong?
all fraud, all fraud. It all goes away. 26 trillion quadrillion dollars in gold was taken out of the Vatican in Trump's first term. 620 plane loads. There's enough gold
Boy, I
to
wish we had
provide every
better.
person on the
Yes.
planet with $1 million tomorrow.
Okay, so you know what? To our audience, when you look at what President Trump has endured on our behalf for these 10 years, he and his family, and a lot of the people around him, like General Flynn, of course, and Roger Stone, and all the Steve Bannon, all the people, Peter Navarro, I can go on and on. you know what? But we'll focus on our commander in chief because we're at war. President Trump hasn't taken it all. And oftentimes I said, look, he doesn't, they're trying to kill him. They're trying to throw him out of office. They're derailing him everywhere, the media. And he was calm, cool, and collected. Why? Because he's under control. And the golden age is now dawning. There's no question about it in my mind.
Yeah.
And, I've got any closing comments, sir, before I take our show in a different direction, some workshop material I'm going to get into before we sign you off, if you will. What else would you like to share with our viewers about this subject? Because, and also a word of caution, if you want to go there a bit, there's a lot of podcasters and a lot of people out there, and many very well intended, but it reminds me of the old saying. I know, me being 67, you being 80, we both would understand this. We remember the saying back in the day, in the market crash of the 20s, when the shoe shine boy on the street corner is giving you a stock tip, it's time to get out of the stock market. Well, today we have a lot of people that have no experience, no credentials. They're good people, well-intended, presumably most of them, that are experts all of a sudden. XRP, go do this, get your wallet, come over here, do this. What do you say to that?
I say to them, in 1492, a tulip bulb cost $1,000. 1929, the shoeshine boy was giving you stock tips. 1950s, there was a guy doing, I can't remember his name. 1963, when Kennedy was killed, there was something called the Great Salad Oil Scandal, where there was enough salad oil in this company to provide salad oil for the world for 10 years. And the exact amount he had was 55 gallons. You have Bernie Madoff in the 90s. You have the insurance company I think it was in the 80s, that was running two sets of books. You have all of that. We got to get rid of all those kind of people. And the only way to do it is with what Donald Trump is doing. Cleaning them out.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of people like that.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. I hope this show is live, of course, on the platforms I've mentioned. It will be rendered and cut later, and it will be distributed on all the platforms that we distribute. If you want to know about that, visit jmcbroadcasting.com, hit the follow tab. This show will live on in the internet, and I absolutely encourage everyone to go back to this segment with retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, setting the record straight and giving us a lot of very, very powerful and important truths and information about where we are, what was intended in crypto, and where we're heading. It's an amazing time to be alive, and I wish our internet disruptions weren't as frequent as they are, but that's the way it goes. But thank you, retired Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox, for your time tonight there in the U.S. I'm in Thailand. It's morning, for joining us. And thank you very much for being a part of our Global Defense War panel, folks. Ricardo Bosi, Derek Johnson, Tom Lennox, please don't let me leave, Michael Jaco. And then we have a fifth seat that rolls around. We bring in different people. We've had Brad Wozni. We've had other folks. Thank you, sir, Tom, for being part of that panel. We get into very different things there. We don't focus on, we focus on different aspects of the war in real time from our esteemed panel. America thanks you for your service, sir. And I thank you on their behalf as well. God keep you safe and protected. And thank you very much for joining me here today. Thank you, sir. All right, what I'd like to do is bring on our good friend Sean Morgan. Everybody knows Sean Morgan, the Sean Morgan Report. Sean and I have worked together for many years. He interviewed me years ago when he had his platform. I interviewed him on mine, and we became patriot and good friends ever since. We worked together at American Media Periscope. Sean lends his expertise and time to JMC Broadcasting by publishing News Behind the News. It's a quick, usually 5-minute well researched, well delivered news blast for you. And Sean's delivering that 2 days a week for us now. Thanks a lot, Sean, joining us from Brazil. Good to see you, sir.
Yes, good to be here.
So, before we get into some things, what's your reflections and comments on what you've just heard from Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox?
Well, certainly your monologue helped structure everything very well. And I have been seeing a lot of signal from President Trump's moves and announcements. And it is very clear that the Fed is changing, the Fed is going away, the IRS is changing and going away. So it is a process. This can't be all of a sudden. As soon as Trump comes into office, he ends all of these institutions, and everyone's heads explode and they don't know how to adapt, right? So there has to be some type of a transition period for people to get used to the idea of not paying taxes, get used to the idea of the Federal Reserve not being the organization that prints our money. And this is a wonderful thing. This is the end of debt slavery on earth. You know, America is the keystone of all nations. We have the reserve currency. We control the global economy, and that was being taken away from us with China being developed and them having as much of a competitive edge in manufacturing of technology and military and so forth. So we were at the brink of losing that ability to control things, and President Trump is resecuring it and securing it for the future of Western civilization, so that we can have freedom and we won't be in a type of communist type of control. So I'm very happy with how things are going, and I do think crypto type technology will be a part of this transition.
Yes, well said. And this should be a calming broadcast for our audience. I delivered the hard punches in the monologue just to lay down what we've just been through for over 100 years. And now you can see from the comments from Lieutenant Colonel Tom Lennox and Sean Morgan that we are transitioning out of that. And thank goodness for that. What concerns do you have, if any, Sean, uh, about about what you see taking place with the military and the launching potentially the EBS and the things we touched on? Um, they're not the, even though we've got a lot of control and certainly the military there, good luck combating the military. But do you have any comments about uh, last ditch efforts from the cabal, the deep state, whether it's nuclear or riots on the streets or any of these things? What's your concern, if any, about that coming our way as we transition?
I think it's good to be vigilant. I think we've seen these types of attacks happen, although people don't always perceive them as attacks. But the fires in Hawaii, the fires in California, the fires in Canada, the various types of chemical explosions and weather attacks. People might think, "Oh, what a weird weather year we're having." Well, a lot of these are advanced weaponry systems that are being used to destabilize. We've seen these riots in Los Angeles, and it could get worse. There could be riots in other cities. There could be various attacks. So we do need to stay vigilant. But I think we're seeing this being done in phases. We're seeing a lot of violent criminals that are part of the narco terrorism networks from Latin America being removed by ICE officers. And I think some of the types of people who can do a lot of damage, domestic terrorism, are being taken care of. And so it's very important that this is done in phases to make it less likely that the regular American citizens would experience any violent fallout.
Yeah, you raised a good point. You stated it a moment ago and just reiterated it to a bit, and that is that, and putting it in my own words, people need to be patient. You can't step in and flick a switch with hundreds and in some cases thousands of years of operating bases of evil control and just turn it off overnight. It has to be done responsibly. It has to be done properly. It has to be done systematically and strategically. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. And so I only ask
And
those. I asked, go ahead, Sean. Yes, go ahead.
Just one or two data points on that is that's why it was so important for President Trump to get his so-called big beautiful bill passed. None of us fiscal conservatives like it when the government gets a bunch of money, but that was exactly the blank check that President Trump needed to be able to carry out millions of deportations of criminals. So we're looking at the DHS uh, have hiring its own crew of new planes to be able to carry out these types of deportations faster. So we are hiring tons of new ICE officers. People who
Mhm.
are even of retirement age are joining the workforce to take part in these deportations. This is a gigantic effort to get rid of criminals and has to be done quickly. And they needed a huge budget for it, and they secured it.
Yeah, well said. That's great. You brought that to the surface. Sean, to talk with our audience about a couple of things. One, news behind the news and the Sean Morgan report. Let's start with news behind the news. Well, give everybody a taste and a flavor for what you're doing. I encourage everyone to follow it. It's published. You're going to be publishing Wednesday and Friday. Moving. Is that what we've come to? An agreement on,
Yes,
Sean?
that's right. Yes, I'm focusing on a few core topics. The main topic is President Trump and his administration's strategy. And I feel like sometimes people can't see the 40,000 foot view when you see these various trade deals with Japan, the EU, South Korea, and the Gulf states, and you just hear these big numbers of what these trade deals are, and I don't think people are connecting the dots to figure out what is Trump up to here. Why is he doing things the way he's doing it? Why are all these countries willing to send us billions of dollars in investments in the United States? What is Trump going to do with all of that money? Why are all these peace deals happening? Why is Trump able to make a peace deal in Thailand and in Africa and in Iran, and now working on a peace deal with Russia and Ukraine? How is it that President Trump is just able to walk in and make peace everywhere? So I try to analyze President Trump's various strategies, political, economic, and diplomatic, and give my own 2 cents on what's happening. And then I also analyze the technocratic agenda, so that a lot of that has to do with AI. So there are different AI announcements from the various big tech companies with leaders like Sam Altman, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. And so I try to stay ahead on those developments and try to connect the dots on what the social engineering is that they're attempting to do with AI and its rollout. And then lastly, government overreach. I've been focusing a lot on Canada, but I'll also be focusing a lot on Europe. Luckily, we have a lot of freedom in the United States, and the woke years are finally being wrapped up. And we just have various jurisdictions within the US that might have limited freedom. But in Europe and in Canada, the fight is still very strong. So I'm reporting on government overreach there so we can support patriots abroad and waking up everyone to the globalist agenda.
Well said, Sean. Thank you very much. I encourage everyone to follow News Behind the News. It's on the home page of our website, jmcbroadcasting.com. It's right there on the home page under the big welcome video. That's its home. And every Wednesday and Friday morning, Sean will be posting new content. They're typically 3 to 10 minutes long. It's just what you need, and well laid out. You do great work, Sean. I appreciate your contribution. And talk about the Sean Morgan report a bit, and what's that all about? And how can people follow you beyond news behind the news?
Yeah, the Sean Morgan Report has been this brand that I've developed over the years of my newsletters, my articles, and now I was doing a lot of interviews when I worked with you, and now I'm doing less interviews and more of these audio and video reports, but also still writing articles. So my home is now Substack. I publish articles, audio, and video. It gets sent out via podcast. So if you listen on Spotify or Apple, then you can also listen or watch there. So yeah, that's my new home, and so that means people can subscribe, and it gets delivered to them, whether it's video, audio, or article. It gets delivered by email.
Excellent. Well, before I sign you off, I want to thank you, of course, for sticking around in the digital green room and joining me here in this segment. You've got a great background, by the way. It looks real nice. Uh, Appreciate that. Looks very good. All right, Sean, thank you for being here. News behind the news, the Sean Morgan Report. Uh, look forward to talking with you, and we'll see you again. So, folks, we're going to wrap up in a little bit. I've got some very important deliverables for you. Again, we are at war. This is not a drill. The stage is being set. The controlled demolition of the current financial system and restructure is happening before our very eyes. The currency supremacy war is heating up. I hope you've learned a lot from our guests and from my stroll through history in the beginning. But this is but one of many battles in this war between good and evil, but it's an important one. The central banks are preparing to convert your deposits into a central bank digital currency, of which President Trump has spoken out against. With this central bank move, there are valid and great concerns of draconian controls mirroring the Chinese credit profile system. So we may be returning to a gold-backed currency with perhaps other commodities en route to the QFS. So saving America and protecting your wealth is not a spectator sport. It requires effort and due diligence and then action on your part. Action changes things, and it's time. As we witness the greatest financial reset in history, prepare for a new era free from the shadow and control of the cabal. And the future is here. It's at the doorstep. I'd like my producer to pull up the Wealth Coach University website if we can. I want to point out a couple of things. I have something called an advisor scorecard we're going to get to in a moment, but if we can have the capability of putting up the actual website, wealthcoachuniversity.com, let's do that now. And my producer maybe doesn't have the capability to do that at the moment. She's not responding. All right. Well, please visit wealthcoachuniversity.com. And there you go. Thank you. Scroll, if you will, please, a little bit. I want to point out a couple of very important things I'd like you to focus on for those interested. Stop right there. There's 107. That's 107. I think it's a 40-minute, not 20. I stand corrected. Segment from a 2-hour show I did. That segment is very important information concerning everything that Tom Lennox and I just spoke about. I want you to check that out. Scroll up a bit, please, if you will. I want to, the other way, I'm sorry, down, I guess I meant. The other left. Stop right there, please. Okay, these are the modules. They're free. I spent, I don't know, 100 hours scripting it, putting it together, and producing it. It's me on screen with PowerPoint in conjunction with my talk. There are 10 different modules that move us through the process leading up to a wealth coach consult. So let's pull up our advisor scorecard if we can. I want to bring this to everybody's attention. Boy, I can't read it. Could you go full screen? I'd like to read it if I can. Yeah, thank you. All right, this is very important. There are two obstacles that I've observed that we generally run into when we're trying to make a move that goes up against the Wall Street narrative, the banker narrative, your stockbroker's narrative, your financial advisor's narrative. This is a tool available for you. It's just an advisor scorecard. Does your financial advisor, because you go to them, you say, well, listen, I want to get into gold and silver. I'm going to follow into the crypto plan with the president. I want out of the system. And they, of course, say you're crazy. So does your financial advisor have the same ideology and political view as you? Does your financial advisor understand and follow fiscal, monetary, and changing policy? Is your financial advisor in good standing with the regulatory bodies? Gold and silver are the best performing asset classes in the world, among the top best ones, and have been for many years now. Have they discussed acquiring physical, tangible metals to combat inflation? Yes or no? Is your financial advisor or firm woke? Number 6, is your financial advisor aware of the parallel economies that we just spent this program discussing? Do they have a strategy for you? Of course, the answer is going to be no to most of these questions. Is your portfolio outpacing the current rate of inflation? Less diversification or trend is your friend? Has your advisor discussed this philosophy with you? Number 9, do you have adequate liquidity for emergencies and opportunities? Number 10, those preparing for or in retirement? Does your income plan provide guaranteed income you cannot live? Please go to the website, wealthcoachuniversity.com, and go through the modules. There's so much information there on so many fronts that I think is very valuable for those that are looking to protect and preserve their assets through the dangers of this transition. And so we'll continue to broadcast the Global Financial Reset Show every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on our backup Rumble channel. Our YouTube channel will be launched next week, on the Facebook page and on X, and on our website, johnmichaelchambers.com, jmcbroadcasting.com. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll be bringing in different guests each show, and we will take different angles, and they won't be as long as this broadcast. This was the premiere. I laid down a lot in the beginning to set the tone and put it out there for posterity, as well as my closing points, which I'm going to get to right now. So next week, we will bring on precious metals expert for a Q&A session. We will, so let's see where else I'd like to get us to. All right. So I'll continue to bring on powerful guests and friends each week. Again, next week, we're going to focus on one of the modules, GOOTS, GOOTS, get out of the system. We're going to jump into that. It's going to be a hands-on sort of a broadcast. We'll be live, and then again, we cut these shows and put them out there. And so be sure to check out my military intelligence panel, Global Defense War, which publishes each and every month, as well as my show with Juan O'Savin each and every month, and my every other Monday BOSI Briefs, Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo BOSI. So the golden age is dawning. Won't you join us? If you would like Wealth Coach Consult with me, there's a mechanism how to get to reach me, and we can speak. This is how we do it. And you can follow me. You can send me an email, john@jmcbroadcasting.com. And I'll do my best to get back to each and every one of you. Those that would like a Wealth Coach Consult, go to wealthcoachuniversity.com, and there's mechanisms that link you up to my calendar, and you can pick and choose the time and slot and to speak with me. So that's it. Please stay safe, and may God be with you. It's been great talking with you. We'll see you next time. We are at war, and we must unite in truth. Subscribe for free at johnmichaelchambers.com for my monthly communique, which includes alerts, warnings, announcements, and access to my most valuable resource network to help you to navigate this storm. With your free subscription, you will also receive a digital copy of one of my books, Trump and the Resurrection of America, an Amazon 5-star rated book and 6-star rated by the late Robert David Steele. Won't you join me as we take our country back and redirect humanity on this much-needed course correction? Remain informed, empowered, and connected, and subscribe today at johnmichaelchambers.com.